Fernando Alonso finished 9th at the 2026 Dutch Grand Prix. Started 18th, one-stop strategy, 34 laps on the soft tyre, 2 championship points and a place in the history books as the first driver since 1974 to score Formula 1 points after his 45th birthday. 2 months ago, this same car was starting 21st and 22nd on the grid. 2 months ago, the paddock was writing off the Aston Martin project as a lost season. Zandvoort just changed that story. And the man who changed it is a 2-time world champion who refuses to let anyone tell him his time is done. For the Motion Report, this is our post-Zandvoort deep dive on Aston Martin and Honda. What Alonso actually did, what Honda's new specification power unit delivered, and what it all means for Monza and the second half of the season. The weekend started with a sobering reality for Aston Martin Honda at the Dutch Grand Prix. Friday was difficult. Honda arrived at Zandvoort with the new specification power unit installed in both Aston Martins following the pre-summer break filming day test at the Hungaroring. Sakura took a deliberately conservative approach to the introduction. Classic Japanese engineering discipline. Priority to reliability, priority to data collection. Performance ambitions secondary. The result on paper looked disappointing. Alonso in sprint qualifying 22nd on the timesheet, describing drivability issues and a rear wing that would not open properly. Stroll 19th, both cars at the back of the grid. And Alonso in his post-session comments confirming the pattern that would define the whole weekend. Quote, "It's very early days with Honda's upgrade package, so we'll try to understand more in the sprint." End quote. Saturday delivered the first genuine sign of progress. Shintaro Orihara, Honda's trackside general manager, confirmed that Honda Racing Corporation Sakura had worked overnight on the test bench to improve combustion behavior. His words, quote, "We have seen some improvements to get a better control over the internal combustion engine and to further improve the consistency of the combustion behavior in qualifying. We need to ensure that the engine does what the driver needs at the right time." End quote. Alonso qualified 18th for the main race, missed Q2 by less than a tenth, but his post-qualifying assessment was the sentence worth quoting in full. Quote, "We were very close to getting into Q2 and more or less maximized what we had. We have work to do to improve the drivability of the car and to recover more lap time moving forward. All in all, I think we have to be happy to be 1.3 seconds from the leader in Q1, when just a few races ago we were on average 4 seconds adrift of the top teams." End quote. 4 seconds down to 1.3 seconds in 3 race weekends. That is the number that mattered before Sunday even started. Then came the race. 72 laps of the final Formula 1 Grand Prix ever to be held at Zandvoort. Damp conditions early, 2 safety cars, strategic complexity throughout the midfield. And Alonso starting 18th with a car that had shown genuine race pace across the weekend, but qualifying limited straight line performance. Aston Martin committed early to a one-stop strategy. That is the decision that made the entire weekend possible, and it took genuine confidence in both the chassis and the driver to commit to it. Adrian Newey confirmed the reasoning afterwards. Quote, "After the red flag, we fitted Fernando with a fresh set of softs. And, with good management, he was able to run almost half the race on those tires. That set up an effective one-stop race, which we felt was our best chance of finishing in the points." End quote. Almost half the race. On soft tires, in a season where most drivers were struggling to make soft tires last 20 laps. Alonso ran them for 34. The second stint was equally impressive. A 37-lap stretch on the hard compound where his tire degradation curve was near flat. Data analysis after the race showed Alonso was the 5th fastest driver through all corners in clean air. Through turn 7, 8 and 9 specifically, he was the quickest driver on the entire grid. Faster through those corners than Hamilton, Leclerc, Russell, Antonelli. He held off Gasly in the closing laps despite a clear straight-line speed disadvantage. Gasly could reach the back of the Aston Martin on the main straight, but could never find a way past. That combination told the whole story of where this project sits right now. Chassis excellent, engine still deficient, driver making the maximum of both. He crossed the line 9th, Aston Martin's first 2 points scoring race weekend of any meaningful competitiveness in 2026. The historical marker matters. Alonso is now the first driver since 1974 to score Formula 1 championship points after turning 45 years old. The last driver to achieve that was Graham Hill. That is genuine motorsport history, delivered by a driver most of the paddock had written off 6 months ago. Alonso's own words after the race. Quote, "It's great to finish in the points here in Zandvoort. I wasn't expecting it. So it's a credit to the team for maximizing everything we had. We still have some drivability issues, but this weekend is another step forward. We'll take this momentum and keep pushing to get the most out of the car." End quote. Stroll's day was harder. He picked up damage early in the race, likely from debris in the opening lap's chaos. His car lost significant downforce. His race pace collapsed. Aston Martin retired him rather than continue running a compromised car that would generate no useful data. His post-race words, quote, "We picked up some damage early on, which compromised the performance of the car. We had no pace and were sliding around a lot, so we stopped early for the hard tyre, but unfortunately nothing helped." End quote. Shintaro Orihara's Sunday statement confirmed the Honda side of the story. Quote, "Both new Spec 2 engines ran the Dutch Grand Prix weekend without any major reliability issues. We know that there is room to improve our drivability, and this remains paramount for us looking ahead to the next races. Scoring 2 points is a good result, especially considering the workload to introduce the Spec 2 engine this weekend." End quote. 2 Spec 2 engines completed a full Grand Prix weekend without reliability issues. 2 championship points scored. Drivability identified as the primary remaining work item. That is a genuine result for a project that has been operating from behind the entire season. Now let us talk about what this actually means, because the emotional celebration of Alonso's drive can obscure the strategic story underneath. Let us be clear about what happened at Zandvoort. This was not a car that suddenly became fast. This was a chassis-driver combination that already had midfield potential, finally paired with a power unit that could complete a race distance without embarrassment. The chassis half of the 2-part upgrade program, which we identified in our Hungary special report, was already delivering. The power unit half, which arrived quietly on Wednesday of the pre-Zandvoort test window, delivered its first race weekend without failing. That is the real story. Not that Aston Martin is now fast, that Aston Martin is now functional. The Honda approach was textbook Sakura engineering discipline, conservative introduction, reliability first, data collection second, performance ambitions third. In an era when most manufacturers are chasing marketing headlines with debut race performance targets, Honda deliberately underplayed the initial installation to guarantee the engine survived a full weekend. That decision was correct. The alternative would have been an aggressive tune that might have delivered slightly more headline horsepower, but risked the kind of blow-up that would have set the entire project back 3 months. The one-stop strategy was the tactical masterstroke. Aston Martin were the only team on the grid to commit to it. Most of the midfield ran 2 stops. That commitment reflected extraordinary confidence in 3 things simultaneously. First, that Alonso could manage soft tire life better than anyone else in the field. Second, that the chassis would generate consistent race pace even on degrading rubber. Third, that the strategic gamble was worth taking because a conventional 2-stop would have delivered a conventional midfield finish, while the 1-stop unlocked genuine points potential. All 3 assumptions were correct, and the execution was flawless. Sky Formula One viewers who follow race strategy will register this as one of the smartest single-team calls of the entire 2026 season. The historical marker also matters more than casual analysis suggests. First driver since 1974 to score after his 45th birthday. That is 52 years of Formula One history. Graham Hill, the previous holder, was a 2-time world champion himself. Alonso joining that exclusive club validates something the paddock has been struggling to articulate all season. This driver is not a nostalgia project. He is a genuinely competitive Formula One athlete who is delivering results at an age when almost every other driver in the sport's history had already retired. Which brings us to the driver market question that is now the loudest conversation in the paddock. What does Alonso do for 2027? Why is he not confirmed yet? Even Max faster than him. Pun intended. Our reading. Multiple credible paths are open and none of them are settled yet. First, let's put one absurd rumor to rest. The Alonso to Alpine rumors can be firmly dismissed. That story keeps surfacing in the Spanish media, fed by Alonso's own management team as a classic negotiation tactic borrowed from the Verstappen playbook. Alpine has confirmed Gasly and Colapinto for 2027. There is no Alpine seat. The rumor exists only to increase leverage in the Aston Martin contract negotiations. Sky Formula One viewers who have been following the story should treat every future Alpine speculation with appropriate skepticism. The first realistic option for Alonso is he continues at Aston Martin for 2027, his final year in Formula One. This is the most likely outcome. and what our internal sources close to the driver camp are telling us. He wants to drive. He believes the chassis-Honda combination will continue to improve. He wants to see the 2027 regulations play out with a competitive car, and he wants the final payout. Like Vermeulen for Max, he and his team are negotiating aggressively for more money and a longer-term position within the Aston Martin structure that extends beyond his driving career. Brand ambassador, technical advisory role, something that secures his commercial future when the racing career finally ends. The second path is Alonso retires at the end of 2026. This is not our primary reading, but it is a genuine possibility that should not be dismissed. He has a family. He is the oldest driver on the grid. The energy management demands of the 2026 machinery are exhausting in ways that traditional Formula One racing was not. And after Zandvoort, the retirement decision would land on the highest possible note. Points scored, historical marker set, legacy secure. The temptation to end the story here rather than risk a disappointing 2027 is real. If Alonso retires, the door opens for Yuki Tsunoda in ways we discussed in our previous report. Honda would push hard for the seat. Aston Martin would benefit from the continued Japanese commercial network relationship. And Yuki has just demonstrated at Zandvoort that he is race ready without needing a rookie learning curve. Now to the technical outlook for the remaining races. Monza is the real deal for Honda and the team in Racing Green. Full power circuit, long straights that reveal power unit deficits with brutal clarity. If Honda has genuinely closed the gap to the front-running units, Monza will show it in speed trap data and lap time down the main straight. If the deficit remains significant, Monza will expose it. Adrian Newey and Shintaro Orihara have both publicly committed to Monza as the next meaningful step in the recovery timeline. Our reading. Monza will be difficult. The Zandvoort chassis strength does not translate as directly to Monza's aerodynamic requirements, and the Honda's new specification, while functional, is still likely to give away straight-line performance to Mercedes and Ferrari power units. Do not expect points at Monza. Expect useful data that positions the team for Baku, Singapore, and the second half of the calendar. The tracks that suit this car are the low-power sensitivity venues. Zandvoort proved that. Singapore will suit the chassis. Malaysia at Sepang if it returns to the calendar. Portimao at the season finale. These are the venues where Aston Martin can compete for points regularly through the second half of the season. Our overall verdict on Zandvoort. This was a genuine milestone for the Aston Martin project. Not a false dawn, not a lucky result. A weekend where the two-part upgrade program finally functioned as designed, and a driver at the peak of his strategic and tactical abilities extracted the maximum possible result. The entire team has over a week to make further improvements and extract more performance out of the overall package. A package that now shows genuine potential to the point that the direct competition is concerned or has already given up. Like Oliver Behrman at Haas. Furthermore, Alonso deserves every ounce of the credit he has received. Adrian Newey's chassis philosophy is validated. Honda's conservative introduction strategy has been justified, and the psychological rebuilding of the team, which has been ongoing since Melbourne, has reached the point where they can walk into Monza knowing they can compete. The champagne moments are rare in this sport. Zandvoort delivered one for Aston Martin. And it delivered one for Fernando Alonso, whose place in Formula One history has just been extended by another line that no other active driver can match. But the questions remain. Will it be his last lifetime record, and is it time to finally retire? Your turn. We would love to hear from you. Do you think Alonso continues at Aston Martin for 2027, or does he retire on this high note? And how many points do you think Aston Martin will score across the remaining races of the season? Tell us in the comments below. If you like this kind of paddock analysis, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the deeper editorial work we do, you can buy us a coffee via the link in the description or join us on Patreon for exclusive additional content. For the Motion Report, this is David Schneider. Thank you for watching.